If you're coming into this video feeling discouraged, I get it. Podcast downloads stuck at 7, 17, 700, whatever stuck means for you. And you can go into any one of a million free Facebook groups and say, hey, my podcast isn't growing, please help, and you'll get a million different opinions. But in this video, I'm gonna share 3 of the most common reasons that podcasts are not growing that I work with clients on all the time, okay? And I wanna say up front, none of them are make better content. A lot of the people in the free Facebook groups will say, just keep going and make your content as strong as possible and the audience will come. I can guarantee there are some great podcasts out there that not enough people know about. Maybe yours is one of them. So let's see if we can fix that right now. All right, starting with number 1, no V. What is that? Let me fill that out. Oh, by the way, if you want a list of 25 free marketing ideas to grow your podcast, we've got that whole list. Just comment below this video with the word, let's say downloads. Just comment downloads. I know a lot of our audience already has it, but just comment downloads and I will make sure to send that to you as well as what we're talking about in this video, okay? If you feel like you're doing all you can to promote your podcast episodes, but it's still not growing, this is usually the number 1 reason you're not giving value in your promotion. Let me talk about what I mean by that. If you can go out there all day, all night, drop links in groups and say, hey, my new episode's out and here's what it's about, and sometimes that'll get you a few listeners. But here's a much more effective strategy. Actually give value, talk about something in the episode that's valuable, and then send people to the episode to get more, okay? So lead with value. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say I was promoting this episode, and by the way, this is the video version of our podcast done by Lunch Entrepreneurs. But if I was promoting this podcast episode, or when it comes out, I will probably do this, I will make a video where I say, hey, if your downloads are stuck, here's one reason why and how to fix it. And then I will tell them that way. Then I will send people to the full episode to get the other 2 ways, okay? So you see what I mean by giving value first, then tell them to go to the episode. Even if they don't go right away, they're still gonna feel more strongly about your podcast. Also, more and more, social media algorithms are demoting anything that feels even slightly promotional. But again, if you're giving value, it won't feel promotional to the audience. And one more note on if you feel like you're doing all the things and it's not working, if you're following a predictable pattern, which certainly makes it easier for us, where it's like, hey, every episode comes out on Monday and Monday afternoon I post on LinkedIn about my new episode, it can also become very predictable and your audience doesn't even notice it anymore. So make sure you change up how you're promoting it occasionally just to kind of have a pattern interrupt for them. So number 1 reason your downloads are stuck is you're not giving any value when you promote it. So don't waste any more time promoting unless you're going to give value along with it. 3 reasons your podcast isn't growing. Number 2, this is something a lot of podcasters don't even realize they're doing. And that is you are hiding. Actually, hang on. That needs more emphasis. Hiding. There, I added some exclamation points there. One of the reasons our downloads never seem to grow is because internally we have this fear of annoying people. Do you ever have that? I certainly do. Like, oh, they're gonna be so tired of hearing about this. But here's the truth. That inner voice that tells us we're annoying people actually kicks in way too early. You could talk about your podcast all day, all night, get sick of it, keep talking about it, get sick of it again, keep talking about it more, and then just maybe then, you'll actually start to maybe annoy your most active audience. For the most part, it takes so much promotion before anyone is annoyed. That is in our heads. So let go of that belief right now. Now to help with that, here's a mindset shift that I give my clients, okay? Instead of saying, hey, here's the new episode, go listen to it, give value, like we talked about earlier in this video, but also don't think of it as telling them to go listen. In fact, don't tell them to go listen. Tell them what they're gonna get if they listen. And if that's valuable to them, they're not gonna feel annoyed, right? So switch it up from, hey, you better go listen to this episode that's out, to, if you want this result, go get this information that happens to be in my podcast. Up next, 3 reasons your podcast isn't growing. Reason number 3 might be the biggest reason that most shows are not growing as much as they'd like. One of the main reasons your podcast may not be growing is because your audience doesn't know how to share it, okay? They can't share it. And I don't mean from a tech standpoint, like I don't know how to move this to my email or my text messages or anything like that. That's actually relatively easy these days, right? But there are some amazing shows out there that don't get shared for 2 main reasons, okay? First, because the show is hard to remember. Maybe somebody enjoys an episode and then they see a friend and they're like, oh, I was gonna tell them about this show, but I can't remember it. Maybe it's because it has a really generic or boring name. This show is called Done by Lunch Entrepreneurs, and it's all about helping online entrepreneurs run their business in half the time so they can be done by lunch and move on to other things that give them joy and purpose. So Done by Lunch, somewhat memorable, right? Sort of rhymes. Imagine if this show was just called Time Management Podcast or something really generic like that. That's actually much harder to remember for most people because it's so plain. And it could be hard to remember because your show name is too interesting or hard to spell or something like that. It is not lost on me that entrepreneurs is a tricky word for most of us to spell and even say in some cases. So I did add it on there because that's who this show is for, but Done by Lunch is the part that I'm hoping people can remember easily. But another reason your show may not be getting shared and recommended is because the listeners don't actually feel like they know who the show is for or what the show does for people, even if they enjoy it. So do a quick mental exercise yourself. When you have recommended a podcast to somebody else, hopefully you're doing that if you expect other people to recommend your podcast, but when you've done that, think about what goes through your mind, right? Probably pops into your head and you go, oh, so-and-so loves this topic, or this friend is struggling with this exact problem. They just asked me about this the other day. I'm going to send them this episode, or I'm going to send them this podcast that I just discovered. So think about your show and describe it in this way. This is the show for blank, who's it for, and it helps them blank. We should all know that about our shows. Or this is the show for blank, who are struggling with blank. If you can't say that about your own show, then it's probably hard for others to say about your show either, which again makes it harder for them to recommend and share. Please let me know if this was helpful by leaving a comment or giving us a like. And if you want to learn more ways to grow your podcast, check out the video on the screen, combine that with what you learned in this video. It's 14 free marketing ideas for your podcast in only 7 minutes. So you can click on that and I'll see you in the next video, all right? Cheers.